through fiscal year 2020 Proposed Capital Improvement Program, CIP, Budget Public Hearing of the Prince George's County Board of Education. I would like to ask everyone to turn off any wireless communication devices as they interfere with the microphones and taping of the meeting. Thank you. Ms. Parker, please call the roll.
Thank you. Dr. Anderson, Mr. Burrows, Ms. Apps, Ms. Eubanks, Ms. Higgins,
Present.
Ms. Jacobs, Dr. Kaufman, Mr. Valentine, Ms. Apps,
Here.
Ms. Waller, Ms. Muse Aria,
Here.
Ms. Boston,
Here.
and Dr. Eubanks.
Here.
Thank you.
Item number 22.1, I will now yield the floor to Dr. Maxwell for a brief introduction to the CIP presentation.
Thank you. Rupert McCabe is going to walk us through very quickly the overview. We did this presentation on August 14th. It's all posted and available on our website. Primary reason of the hearing is to hear people's comments on the CIP. So he's just very quickly, I think, going to walk us through some of the key dates, how a couple of things walk together, the primary goals, and then we're going to ask for our public participation. Rupert?
Good evening, board members, superintendent, and the public. The presentation in front of you have been presented to the board and other stakeholders previously. And so, as Dr. Maxwell said, I'm going to do a real brief overview just to make sure everyone gets a quick snapshot of what is in front of them. The FY15 CIP, there are three core areas that discusses the capital program: short-term projects, medium-term projects, long-term projects. And that's one of the focal points of addressing the capital needs of the district. And we went through this slide previously before. This is important. This is the current schedule, and where we are today is really, really important. September the 12th, our public hearing, which is this evening, and from there, it takes us to September the 26th, which is the final CIP on consent agenda to the board for approval. Then a week after that, it goes to the ISC as a total package for the FY15 approved capital budget. From the October the 4th, we just received our interview schedule, which is now October the 15th. And we had a rough date in between there, so it's confirmed for October the 15th. And from there, our interview session would occur with the ISC in terms of what they have seen and what we have presented. And after that date, the other critical date is with the joint signature letter with the county government. That's where the county government endorses the capital program and submits their letter of support to the IEC, and that's the deadline, November 25th. And at that point also, any changes in the CIP can be made between October the 4th and November 25th. Along that same line of in the schedule, within the November dates, the IEC, where the governor would make a recommendation of what they're hearing in terms of the 50% recommendation for the capital budget. And once that's heard, we as a school district, we will look at our capital projects that were approved, and there's a hearing, which is another milestone, on December the 3rd, time to be determined. Then we'll go into the Board of Public Works and the ISC and voice our concerns and appeal for our projects. And once that's done, the next timeline, December 31st, the IEC would now say they have heard from all the LEAs, all the school districts, and here's our 75% recommendation. That's critical, December 31st. After that occurs, we go into next year, 2014. which is between January and March, the critical 90-day window, which is a legislative session where bills are made and bills are being approved and not approved. And at that particular time, in January, there's our final Board of Public Works hearing in Annapolis, where as a school district, we go up to Annapolis, voice our concerns, and with our legislators and senators, and try to get all of our capital funding approved. And from there, it goes into the regular schedule of events. March the 3rd, 90% funding, April 100% funding, and then May 100% IAC money, as well as from the county government makes their final approval of the CIP as well from their funding. This basically, I'm not going to go over this overview and mission. Pretty much we went over that before, but our job is to improve capital facilities, health, safety, and welfare, and this is our bottom line. I call it our triangle of interrelationships between the facilities master plan, comprehensive plan, capital improvement plan, and then the result of that comes out of the capital projects. And this again is our internal organization, our internal process, how we get projects done from planning through construction, fiscal management. This is a synopsis of what we've accomplished last year. And ongoing improvements, we talk about what we vision to do for our capital office to make sure we have an efficient and seamless process. And going back over the short term, medium term, and long-term activities, again, we have prioritized projects that could be done in these areas, and the best that we can for the CIP in terms of where the project lies. Again, on the recommendations 1 through 6, we're working with all those recommendations right now in terms of streamlining projects, improving linkages, engaging communities, study the high schools, resolve the special education initiative, and the shared vision. And again, so these are, I'm not going to go through all those bullets, but just to highlight again what we have talked about, the improved linkages, streamline the projects, engage communities, and study high schools, resolve and shared vision. And this section of the slide goes through all our capital projects. I will not go through all the capital projects, but I'm going to just stay on this slide that represents the full gamut of what is in front of you for approval. And if you break it down, we're at $356,125,000 million, which is very high, it's very significant. And it's broken down into several areas. Replacement schools, that's Fairmont Heights. Major renovations and additions, we have 4 projects in there. And then special ed initiative, we have several projects. And systemic projects, over about 45 or so projects. And secondary school reform, just over a dozen or so projects in FY15. Open space pods, just about a dozen projects. And then forward-funded requests, which really is money already spent by the county government. And as of now, and for the last 12 years, we have been chipping away every fiscal year of the money they owe us. And as of right now, they owe us $9.2 million. And then the last category is county-only funded projects. And things like asbestos, fuel oil tanks, different things like that, parking lots, et cetera, et cetera. And we have several projects in that category for $44 million. So this is a summary of all the projects here that are highlighted and shown. And I'll just get to the last slide. Okay, so the last slide summarizes the whole entire request. If you look at the grand total, FY15, $356,125 million. It's broken down into county share, $224,504,000 million. State funding, $131,621,000. The next line, this shows a net because this $9 million is not for projects to start design and construction. Those projects are already completed. It's a request to give us reimburse us for our funding. So your net FY15 is $346,840 total funding. And this basically ends my presentation. as an overview.
Okay, colleagues, are there any discussions? Well, I have a couple of questions. On Central High School, I noticed in your package that you're projecting about almost, it looks like close to about maybe $10 million for renovations between 2015 and 2020. Am I correct in my figures?
On Central High School, what page are you referring to, if I may?
On page 22, oh, well, no, total request is $6 million, right?
Yes, so the project in question, it's part of a secondary school reform. And you know, every high school, there's an initiative for secondary school reform, and so that's what that project is.
And so that, and what you're saying is that the secondary school reform is adding academies or choice programs within Central, other than what they already have?
Yes.
That's what I'm hearing. And what would those be? Do you know offhand?
You know what Central's is?
So it's renovating.
Right, so
The
some of them are
school
art,
to
some of them are the
prepare them
environment, some of them
for-
are different things, and each program, depending on what they are, requires some modification to the buildings.
Okay. Because, and the reason why I'm saying that community have had quite a bit of meetings around Central being put on our CIP for the future for a new Central. And it was on, in the copper years ago, and for some reason it was taken out. And that community has been requesting that we put that back at some point. And if we're spending, and we did an analysis of some of the money that we had spent since it was taken off, and frankly, the amount of money that we had spent to renovate that school, we could have built a new school. But, you know, I just want to really request that some kind of way we try to get Central back on there for the future, to get a new school for Central. The community has been demanding it for quite some time now. Friendly High School, I was there last night, and that school was built in, I think, 1968, and if I'm correct, they had the same gym floor in their small gym and large gym as they've had since the school was built since 1968. And they did the PTA, and I think a couple of the staff members there said that they've had accidents because of the floor is so bad. So I don't know where we are on trying to get that floor, you know, to get a new floor in Friendly. I don't know if we have it on our pipeline to do, but I would like to see that part of some renovations.
We're I think, you know, part of this was a study of our high schools, because we know that there's a lot of need at the high school, and so we're going to try to do a comprehensive study of the high schools. In the meantime, it's law, public policy,
global studies,
Okay.
and graphic arts and media and communication.
at Central. Those are the modifications. So you'll need a graphic arts lab. You'll need, you know, some other kinds of things there. So that's what that money is
Global
for.
studies, you said? Oh. Okay.
But we are going to look at we're going to take a comprehensive look at all of the high schools and try to come forward with here's what we need to do.
And one other school I would like for you to look at, and that's Forestville High School as well.
Yes, ma'am.
They're-
We're going to
they're,
look at all, we're going to look at all of them.
Yeah, they're well, I'm from old school, so their home ec room
Right.
needs some renovation done, so we
Yes, ma'am.
be getting requests from PTAs about that as well.
We will take a look.
Thank you. Any other? Thank you, Dr. Maxwell. Colleagues, we would now hear from our registered speakers for public comment who will speak for 3 minutes in a public comment forum where the board will listen to your comments. Our first registered speaker for this evening is Kevin Kendrick. Please come forward.
Good evening, Dr. Maxwell and members of the Board of Education. My name is Kevin Kendrick, and I'm an educator at William Witt Middle School, but I'm also president of a group called a Committee for a New William Witt Middle School. One of the reasons I'm speaking to you is because I want to emphasize that we, too, have a need for a new building. Back in 2001, we had an FCI, our Facility Condition Index, of 63%, meaning our building was in fair condition. However, by 2012, our rating had dropped to 34.45%, so it went from being fair to being good. So that was a much higher rating, which is kind of baffling because our building was built in 1964, and according to the executive summary report done by the county, it's had no major renovation since that time. So that in itself is baffling. But it's further a baffling idea for us because for those who frequent William Witt Middle School, this building is anything but in good condition. For starters, for the past 2 years, our school has had to order Deer Park water because our water fountains are not usable. The students cannot drink out of those water fountains. So we've had to have Deer Park water for the past 2 years imported. In addition to that, there are times where you will go into a bathroom and you want to wash your hands, brown water will come out. That's something that we don't like to see on a regular basis, but that's something that does happen for us. There was an instance back in 2012 with our plumbing where the shower in our gym lockers, they're not been used, but there was a sewage leak, and that's happened on more than one occasion. The odor was so rancid that it caused that part of the building to not be used. In addition to that, we have some serious mold and mildew problems. It's not uncommon to see constant leaking from the ceiling when we have heavy rainfall, just like we've had today. There are times where teachers have had to put buckets in the room to catch water from dripping. Even though people will come in and they will change the ceiling tiles, the problem will still reoccur. There was one point in the summer where an environmental specialist came into one of our classrooms and he closed that classroom down for the summer. We were not allowed to use that during summer school, which is kind of scary because if that was a room that was closed down during the summertime, what was going on during the entire school year when you had students there? You had students there and you had teachers there. They were breathing all that mold and mildew in, but it took for somebody to come in the summertime and say, you cannot use that room. So that created a problem. In addition to that, we've had people make complaints about the dust in addition to the mold and mildew as in igniting their asthma or allergy. One of my colleagues who had not had asthma, whose asthma had not flared up in 30 years, when she started working at William Witt Middle School, it came back. We had another colleague of mine who talked to her doctor, whose doctor told her that the air quality is impacting your skin to the point to where she's constantly having to scratch. Certain students who have asthma who are also affected as well. In addition to that, we have some serious space issues. Our school services Riverdale. Is that 3 minutes? Oh, well, sure. Just overall, it was very sad for me to hear a student say, when new temporaries were being brought to our school, for that student to look at the temporaries and the conditions they were in and say, they don't care about us. So when they see that, that broke my heart right there. When a child has to internalize that when they feel that's how whomever makes these decisions think about their school. Thank you.
Leave a copy with
Excuse me?
copy of
Leave
your
a copy of
statement.
the
Yeah,
testimony.
I left copies of this for all members of the board. I have 14 that I gave to Ms. Jackson.
Okay.
All that information.
Great, thanks.
I know Ms. Higgins has one, and Mr. Stukes has one as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Councilman David Lingua. Okay. Guess we will move now to the speakers' public comment from speakers on non-agenda items. Mr. Blue Cloquet, did I pronounce that right? Coach Blue, I heard they call you Coach Blue.
How you doing? How you doing?
You do it.
Great. I'm here with my esteemed colleague, Ms. Jacobs, President of Superintendent Action Team Committee. Thank you so very much for giving us the opportunity to speak with you. We'll try to be brief and get as much information to you as possible by reading our statement here. Earlier this year, we presented to the school board administration some ideas on to supporting services with a comprehensive report providing recommendations for the facility updates on Drew Freeman Middle School. For over 3 years, we watched Dr. Dean educate our kids, but suffer through a dilapidated and poor school. The Student Action Team and their partners assessed the building to confirm what Drew Freeman and the staff has been saying all along. In the report, we provided it to Dr. Dean, the facility management. We were able to identify much needed repairs and upgrades that were significant. One of the things I want to point out to you is that during the winter months, these kids have to be educated in coats and gloves in the classrooms. They would leave that same classroom and go to another classroom that same day and remove all those clothing because another classroom is boiling hot. We gave that report and we presented it to Dr. Arbogast, Mr. Clarence Stokes, and Mr. McCabe early this year. Dr. Arbogast at that point seemed very interested in seeing what we could do to help facilitate funding and help in that school back in order. After the presentation, we waited for Mr. Stokes to call us back to see how we can sit down with our community partners to assess how we can create additional funding. Unfortunately, we did not hear from him at that time, and maybe because of the reorganization of the board. We looked at it and we assessed the damage or the repairs between $7 and $10 million. What we are just requesting is to have someone from supporting service, the superintendent's office, just come back and have a dialogue with us. If funding is not available in the CIP plan that we saw, which is only a boiler, we'd like to have an opportunity to show them how we can assist and maybe help you with funding and give us an opportunity to repair our school. That's in much needed repair. I end this by saying that our kids are our most important asset. Right now, our kids are going to be struggling because they have no boiler system in place. They have jury-rigged our system where we're able to get hot water, which means they're unable really to have hot lunches. Now, if you know our community, we're in an empowerment zone where many of the parents are low to moderate income, more on the low side. But we represent 33,000 people in our community, so any support that you can render would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Anita Stugen. I'm sorry, Coach Blue, you can leave us a copy of that. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Anita Studgen, and I'm with Robert Goddard Montessori School, the PTSA. I'm the current PTSA president, and the scope of work that I am going to recommend and that we're suggesting to be a part of the capital improvement plan isn't to the same magnitude as the other schools that are up there, but the issues that we are having, as one of the other schools mentioned, is that we also have the brown water issue where water fountains are cut off. Right now we only have one operating water fountain, which is in the cafeteria that kids can drink out of. And also staff they're importing water, getting water imported into the school by Deer Park as well. With our lower classrooms, parents are requested to bring in water for supplies as well. So we're requesting that either there's some type of investigation to repair the piping or figure out what systems need to be replaced, that it's contributing to the brown water that's coming through the water fountains, as well as the sinks, the toilets, and all the faucets that are there. We are requesting that the water fountains themselves be replaced that are broken or repaired. There are a couple of safety, security issues that we have concerns about in regards to our school. There are two buildings and there's a courtyard, and on one side of the courtyard it's open, it's completely open, and there have been some issues with a a parking lot on the grounds as far as vandalism and people breaking into cars onto the premises, which is the location where the grounds are actually open. There's currently a 4-foot fence on that side, but it's open. It's a short fence. So we're just asking that there's a 6 to 8 foot fence that is taller and it extends to connect the both buildings so no one can have access onto the grounds and within that courtyard area where especially the primary lower elementary kids tend to have playtime, recess, and what have you. There are also currently 4 doors which possibly may already be in I guess in a priority to be fixed, that have some security and safety issues as someone being able to get into the premises if those doors are not replaced and repaired. We are also asking for our bathrooms to be upgraded with installation of toilets and urinals that are accessible for the smaller age group. We are a school that have kindergartners to, 3-year-olds all the way up to 8th grade. And generally our smaller kids are having a hard time using the bathroom on their own because of the height of the toilets as well as the urinals. And it creates a sanitation issue as far as things are on the floor now because they can't reach it. So it's not something that they can help themselves with. Also, this year we have a 3-year-old that she has a wheelchair. And so we want to make sure that all areas of the school that she can actually access. And so definitely want to look at that as she matriculates through the school system. We have the middle school, which is on the 2nd floor, that she can actually have access to that. So that's it. And I have pictures of the areas of concern. Thank you.
Thank you. So I want to thank everyone for their comments today. The Board of Education is scheduled to approve the final submission of the 2015 to 2020 CIP at the September 26, 2013 board meeting. This concludes the evening CIP budget public hearing. Thank you.